Hello everyone, I'm bored and it's been a while since I've done one of these, so how about a story? This is a story about the time we almost threw a guy off a ship, and would have been justified in doing so in my own opinion. So the year is around 2013, 2014. There we are floating somewhere off in the Mediterranean Sea. This is on the 22nd MEU, my first deployment. Now, I'm not talking about one or two people being mad at one guy. I'm talking about literally half of an LHD-5, which is a miniature aircraft carrier, basically. Wanted to find one individual and make him walk the plank. Now, I know what you're thinking. What could one person have possibly have done to make half of a ship want to throw him off of said ship? Well, think of all the reasons you might be able to come up with as that was why that would happen, and I guarantee you will not hit it. You'll be wrong. Every single reason you come up with, you will be wrong. There's no way you can guess it. Anyway, there I am one day sitting in the berthing of the ship, minding my own goddamn business, when I get word of a little wisp of gossip that had been starting to float around. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with ship life, when you're floating out at sea for a stupid amount of time, floating off the coast of Syria for 135 freaking days for no freaking reason, gossip tends to travel pretty quickly. Everybody hears everything. There's nothing else to do but talk shit on each other. So, I mean, yeah. This particular piece of gossip was especially juicy. Apparently, some idiot with light armor reconnaissance had been going into the communal laundry area. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with the ship, all the laundry for your lower enlisted is done in one massive room that has a bunch of washers and dryers. Not enough washers and dryers, so you have to go in. It's always busy, always packed, and it's only open at certain times. At least, yeah, I think they shut it down for cleaning at some point. I can't remember. But you go down there, you put your clothes in a washing machine, and you have to sit on that washing machine until the clothes get done to put them into the dryer. Then you have to sit on that dryer until they get done, because idiots will come and just take your wet clothes out and put them on top because they're inconsiderate bastards. Happen all the time. I almost got into a fist fight over my clothes once. That's another story for another day. Now, another thing about ship is there's also cameras everywhere. Like, if you walk out to a ship, you might as well just assume you're being recorded no matter what you do. The guy, like, pilfered 15 different pairs of panties, a couple of bras, you know. It was a lot. And it took him a week before anybody started actually noticing, and the reports started coming in, hey, my stuff's going missing in the laundry room, and then they started looking back the cameras, and well, they could tell who it was. Well, it was a Marine, and then they figured out, hey, that guy's with this company, so they asked around, and it didn't take long to figure out exactly who it was. Now, when this bit of gossip started floating around, we didn't know who it was yet. The investigation hadn't made it that far, but they knew which company he was with, and he was going to be found out very soon. The gossip also got back to this man, which is where the real problem of the story comes into play. If you couldn't already tell, we weren't exactly dealing with the sharpest light bulb in the bowling shed. When this bit of new gossip hits our panty-snatching friend, I can only assume he immediately panicked and threw his brain out of a freaking window. Or portal. We're on ship. They would have been called a portal. Either way, he threw his brain right out of it into the Mediterranean Sea. After relieving himself of his mental faculties, he realizes that he needs to get rid of all the evidence he's accumulated because they're gonna find him. And I guess he thought, if I don't have the evidence, you can't prove it was me, even though I got you on camera, you idiot. So I guess this man looks around at his options of evidence disposal available to him on a ship floating in the Mediterranean Sea, and lands on the worst possible method of doing so. Now, he could have, you know, like a rational person, put everything into a brown paper bag and tossed it into the Mediterranean Sea in the middle of the night. No one would have questioned it. We used to throw trash off the back of the ship all the time. It's a common practice. He could have went to the compactor area where the trash separation room waited till one of the guys wasn't really paying attention and just tossed it into the freaking trash compactor thing. They probably wouldn't even question him. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I'm just throwing trash away. Well, don't do that again. Because they're supposed to sort that stuff, but he could have done that. There's several different ways he could have went about disposing the evidence in a more intelligent way, but I mean, we're not exactly dealing with Einstein here. Instead, this idiot thinks the best course of action is to take the 14 chunks of cloth lingerie he's acquired and try to shove them down the toilet. Now let the old flea here learn you something about how toilets work on ship. They're not exactly what you would call high flow, high pressure systems. During my deployment, it was a constant issue with these things getting clogged just from solid human waste. I mean, not really all that surprising when you have an entire battalion landing group of Marines who are eating nothing but protein and working out all the time with no other thing to do. That's all we did was eat protein, work out. Yeah. We even had to post signs up in the bathrooms telling people not to try to flush the hand towels because the Navy was getting tired of coming out and trying to unclog our toilets, and they were going to stop doing that if we kept trying to flush them down. And yeah, I understand why they were getting so mad about it. So our penny thief antagonist here knows this information. He knows these toilets can't handle hardly anything. Human waste is a challenge and brown paper towels right out. He knows this. And in his infinite lizard brain, he decides that he's going to take cloth material that doesn't decompose in water that quickly and try to shove them into the toilets. The part I still cannot fathom to this day is he somehow did it. He somehow got this stuff down the toilet and actually flushed. The toilet he used did not clog. And that right there is what caused the issue that wanted us to throw him overboard. For you see, the toilet he used to flush these things might not have clogged, but the entire starboard side of the ship's plumbing did. That's right, he got his criminal bundle of degeneracy down the toilet and into the main outlet piping for one whole side of the ship, because the plumbing kind of is a web structure that goes from all the toilets and it goes to a much larger singular pipe and then out off the side of the ship into the ocean. He got it into the large portion of the pipe, and that's where it clogged. Now imagine, if you will, about 2,000 Marines and sailors trying to go to the bathroom only to discover that when they open the door, the hatch to the head, that there's about 2 inches of sewage on the floor. And these are pretty large rooms. It's like a communal bathroom type of deal, so that's a lot of sewage. Because, I mean, when you have a complete 100% blockage of all waste exits, it tends to back up just a little bit. So of course, this gets reported ship-wide, because it wasn't just happening in our head, it was happening in every single head on the starboard side of the ship. And unfortunately for us, and really unfortunately for the Navy, we didn't have a sewer snake that was long enough to go from anywhere else on ship to get to this blockage, because it was right in the middle of the outlet pipe, too far gone to shove anything down there to unblock it. So these poor sailors had to go down to the part of the ship where this pipe was located in, which was behind a bulkhead. I don't know how thick that steel was, but it's behind a steel freaking wall. They had to cut through the steel wall. Then they had to figure out which section of the pipe the blockage was in, cut that entire section of pipe out, and then weld a new section of pipe in. That alone is a challenging and annoying task. Now couple that task to where you have I don't know, 100 psi of human waste backed up in a plumbing system, and you know that when you go and pop into that pipe, you make your first cut, that the sewage is gonna want to escape through that hole you make. Now, I didn't see it myself, but I did hear accounts that when the Navy cut into the plumbing there, the jet of stream of human waste flung out at high pressure and hit a wall that was like, I don't know, 12 foot back with force. I'm no expert, but I think the Navy was pretty upset about having to do this. The best part being this idiot's misdeeds were rediscovered in a tomb of human waste. He didn't even get rid of the evidence. They pulled out this bundle of women's underwear. Now, it is about this time, a week after the initial flushing, that we discovered the bundle of underwear. By then, we had figured out who was responsible for clogging the ship's plumbing. And we searched. People searched for this guy. We were out for blood. Because for a freaking solid week, we couldn't use the toilets. We had to try to go over to the port side of the ship and use the staff NCO toilets, which that's always fun when you're walking through the berthing of your master sergeants, first sergeants, and stuff. Nobody wants to do that. So I think I dehydrated and constipated myself for a solid week because I just didn't want to use the bathroom. Oh, and I forgot to mention, at this point, we had also been floating off the coast of frickin' Syria for probably around 100 days, so tensions were a little high. Fortunately for this idiot, I guess the Navy and the Marine Corps saw that people were going to be a little upset, and they had flown him off the ship and got him away from us before anything could happen. I was especially annoyed about this because guess who had to help clean up the 2 inches of human sewage that had been sitting on our berthing floor for a solid week and had turned solid at that point? Yeah, that's right. This guy, newly promoted Corporal Nelms, newly promoted corporal, had to go help clean up the sewage from an idiot who can't not steal people's stuff. Yay me! This actually caused me to almost get into another fight, because when I went down to the chemical storage locker and asked the guy behind the counter if I could get a bottle of bleach, he wanted to try to tell me no. And I explained to him the situation, like, look man, I'm about to have to try to clean up, 18 tons of human waste. I want some bleach. Like, if your company's already used as much bleach as, we can give you. No man, look, I'm telling you now, I'm getting the bleach. If I have to come into that booth, I'm going to get the bleach. I don't care who you gotta call to get this stuff authorized, but I'm telling you now, I will fight you over some bleach. I think I was actually more upset at that time than I'm displaying on camera now, because he did get on the hook with somebody, I don't know who, and got authorization to give me a bottle of bleach after explaining to him that I was pretty upset, and then, the biohazard I was about to have to wade through. So he did hand me a bottle of bleach, and I thank that man eternally to this day. So yeah, after a week of not pooping, we got the mess cleaned up, and we never saw that Marine again. I know he was with LAR, actually lived 1 rack away from me. Oh, if only I had known at the time. But yeah, he lived right next to me for the time we were on ship. The time he was on ship. They shipped him off and we never saw him again. I don't think his platoon ever saw him again. I think they buried him somewhere because nobody wanted to deal with that. It was just weird, man. Just weird. But yeah, that's the story of the penny thief on ship who clogged all of our plumbing for a solid week. Pun intended. Solid waste. Yeah, I hope you get it. If not, oh well, I don't care. But yeah, this is probably one of the actually most interesting things that ever happened to me while I was on ship. Other than the hearing loss I accumulated from being in a place I wasn't supposed to be while Harrier jump jets were flying overhead doing touch and goes because I'm an idiot. Or the time I walked into the captain's, his hallway because nobody told me to stay away from the blue floors. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that one. But yeah, anyways, I digress. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed my misery. And yeah, that's all for now. Goodbye.